Buying a pre-sale property. If you live in the Lower Mainland, you've probably heard all the rage about buying one of these at one point or another. But is it the right decision for you? Stick around for today's video to find out the pros and cons of buying a pre-sale property. What's going on, guys? I'm Alex Dunbar with RE/MAX Treeland Realty and the Dunbar Real Estate Group, and I'm a realtor based out of the Langley-Cloverdale area in BC. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over the A to Z of buying a pre-sale property. So in 99% of cases, you always hear about the upside of getting into these potential deals. However, no one really talks about the risks. So that's why I felt the need to make this video to educate you and make sure you had a comprehensive understanding in order to make an informed decision. Now, before getting into the pros and cons, we should probably define what a pre-sale is. Essentially, it's when a developer starts selling the rights to units in their development prior to them actually being built. So you're basically buying a contract for a unit that's going to be done at a later date. This time period can vary, but it's typically somewhere between 1 to 3 years. The process looks like this. You and your realtor go into the showroom and get to take a look around. At this point in time, you'll be notified what the pricing is, different floor plans, and any additional information that may be helpful. If sales have not yet started, you'll probably be put on an email list where they will send you out a unit request form. Once this has been sent out, you'll be required to fill it out and send it back to them. And typically, units are sold on a first come, first served basis on who gets these forms back in first. If units are already on sale, a member from the sales team will notify you what units are still available, and they can provide you with a contract and help you fill it out if needed. Presale projects are often sold in tiers. As they sell more units and move through the tiers, prices typically increase. So the earlier you're able to get in, the better price you're going to get. Now, something to keep in mind is that the developer typically gives first access to friends and family. After that, it's going to be VIP realtors with a relationship with them, and then finally the public. If you're able to get early access at a project, you can basically make money before it's even sold out. Typically, there's no room for negotiation in the price. However, sometimes, depending on the developer and what sort of market you're in, you can negotiate for other things such as deposit structure or additions. Once you've written an offer and the developer has accepted it, you're now given a 7-day right of rescission period. This time is provided to you to allow you to do any sort of due diligence you need to do. You don't get to see the actual physical building until it's purchased. If you choose not to go through with it, there are no repercussions for backing out of the deal. However, if you do choose to go through with it, this is typically when your initial deposit is due. Now, unlike a resale property where you're typically going to have to provide a 5% deposit upon purchase and then a down payment upon completion, which is typically going to be somewhere between 1 to 3 months after you get that accepted offer, with a pre-sale, you're only required to provide the deposit that the developer requests. This is going to vary by project, but most often ranges somewhere between 5 to 15% of the purchase price. More often than not, the deposit is due in staggered payments. So what I mean by this is you may owe 5% up front, another 5% in 6 months, and an additional 5% in a year. The clear benefit here is you don't have to provide it all up front in a lump sum. It gives you a little bit more time to save. Because of this, it allows people flexibility as they don't actually have to get a mortgage for 2 to 3 years or whenever that completion is. All they're going to have to do is put down whatever deposits required by the developer until the time comes that they have to qualify for that mortgage. So this provides a couple of benefits. One of those being that if you're in a lower paying job and you expect to start earning more in the future, you can lock in a unit but not actually have to qualify for that mortgage until a later date. Additionally, most people are buying with the assumption that the unit's going to be worth more when they actually move into it than when they were originally purchasing. Another benefit to buying a pre-sale is that most of the units are customizable. You typically have the option to choose between a couple of different color schemes, and there's often additions that can be made to the unit, such as flooring or adding an electric vehicle charger, which are available at an additional cost, of course. When purchasing a brand new unit, you also get something known as a 2-5-10 warranty. This means that for the first 2 years, you get a warranty on electrical, mechanical, and plumbing, a 5-year warranty on the building envelope, and a 10-year warranty on the structure of the building. Additionally, prior to moving in, you get something known as a final deficiency walkthrough. Basically, you get to walk through your unit with someone from the sales or development team as well as your realtor, take some tape and put it on all the different deficiencies that you see. The builder will then send their team back in there to fix all these deficiencies before giving you another walkthrough to make sure you're happy with the final product. Another thing to note is that no new developments can restrict rentals. This means whether you're buying it for yourself or as an investor, you have the opportunity to rent it out at any point in time. This is typically a good thing for future resale value. And being that it's a brand new unit, you're obviously going to be able to charge higher rents than a directly comparable resale. Another potential benefit is the ability to assign your contract. What this means is that if prior to actually completing and purchasing the unit, you can sell your contract to another buyer and keep the lift, or the difference between the price that you purchased and the price that you're giving it to them for. However, what you'll have to keep in mind is that not all developers allow assignments, and those that do typically come with a fee. Assignment fees typically range between 1% to 3% of the price of the unit, but can also sometimes be a flat fee. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're planning to assign the unit, you have to remember that there's additional fees on top of the assignment fee. You're going to have to pay realtor fees as well as lawyer fees as well. Also, you're typically not able to assign a unit prior to the developer selling out at least all the same types of units that you own. The reason being is, let's say you bought a 1-bedroom unit and the developer still has multiple 1-bedroom units left. They don't want to have to compete with you. People often use this strategy to flip properties and make a profit. However, in my opinion, you always need to ensure that you're able to close on the property just in case you're not able to actually sell it. So that about does it for looking at all the benefits of purchasing a pre-sale property, but let's move on to the risks. One of the biggest downsides is that you're going to be required to pay GST on top of the purchase price. That's an additional 5%. For instance, on a $600,000 unit, that's another $30,000. So it's not cheap, and you have to take that into account. Next is that there may be time delays. You're going to be given an estimated completion date, but more often than not, it's typically longer than they say. This could be a couple of weeks to a couple of months to even over a year. And on top of that, there's always a potential that the project doesn't complete. There's several reasons for this, but the biggest one primarily being that they can't get the funding. In this case, you won't necessarily lose money as you'll be given back your deposit. However, it's more so looking at it from an opportunity cost perspective. What I mean by this is your deposit money was tied up where it could have been invested in another project or elsewhere. That could be a pretty substantial chunk of change that you could be doing other things with. And you have to remember that could be tied up for 2, 3, or even 4 years. Another risk is the lack of quality assurance. Yes, you can go preview the showroom and see the floor plans and everything else. However, until you see that final product, nothing's guaranteed. This is why it's so important to research the developer beforehand and see what their reputation is like. Another major risk is the inability to qualify for a mortgage on your property. Because you don't have to qualify for the mortgage up front and not until it's actually complete, this leaves a time period in between that anything could happen in your life. This is why it's important to be aware of A, does the developer allow assignments? And B, where are you going to be at that future date? If they do allow for assignments, this will at least give you a backup plan, even if you have to lose money. But again, I personally don't suggest buying into any pre-sale that you can't potentially complete on if things don't go the way that you're assuming they would. Hypothetically, if you can't qualify for that mortgage and you can't complete on the project, the developer is going to be allowed to keep your deposit in most cases. The reason why I'm telling you about all these potential risks is because I want to make sure not that you're scared, but that you're well informed. We only typically hear about when these pre-sale opportunities go well for people, but not very often do we hear about when they go poorly. That's why it's so important to consider all the factors before making a final decision. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you found any value in it, please smash that like button. And if you're interested in getting any sort of real estate content related to Surrey, Langley, and surrounding areas, subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.